Among these 100 hill towns of the Middle Ages, Assisi rises on the western slopes of Mount Subasio. More than any of the others, Assisi represents that yearning for intense religious and spiritual consciousness we find in Umbria. Thanks to the dazzling figure of St. Francis, the patron saint of Italy, this little town has become an ideal fulcrum for spreading the concept of peace and brotherhood among people. Here before my eyes stands an illustrious monument, a temple not vast as befits a small town, but so beautifully devised that it would look magnificent in any setting. Goethe was writing of the temple of Minerva, today the church of Santa Maria sopra Minerva in Assisi's Town Hall Square. The spirit of the Middle Ages lives again among the citizens of Assisi every year. The Spring Festival is held during the first days of May. It's known as the Calen di Maggio and is celebrated with poetry, singing and dancing. The two factions of the town, the most noble part above and the magnificent part below, turn out in splendid costumes and hold a choreographic combat for the Palio, the election of... More than anything else, Assisi is the city of St. Francis, and its host of churches, here we see the cathedral, have witnessed many episodes of his life. Dating from 1140, the cathedral is dedicated to the martyr Saint Rufinus. Clare was a sweet, angelic figure, representing the female counterpart of her great contemporary. She now rests in this basilica dedicated to her. The Church of St. Peter's, with its adjoining Benedictine abbey, reminds us of the monks' donation to Francis of the tiny chapel of St. Mary of the Porziuncola. Francis' parents, Pietro di Bernardone and Lady Pica, were rich cloth merchants. They lived in this part of the town, where St. Francis was an ardent preacher and missionary. But in every place he went to preach, he would look for some solitary retreat to pray in. His retreat in Assisi was the hermitage of the Carceri on the slopes of Mount Subasio. Here, all the noise... Once Franciscan rule had been approved by Pope Innocent III, St. Francis went with his first group of brothers to settle in a dilapidated hovel, the Tugurio. The saint was very happy that this place was given to the brothers, especially because the church bore the name of the Mother of God, because it was so poor, and because it was called St. Mary of the Porziuncola, as though looking forward to the time when it was to become the mother and head of the poor friars minor. Quite extraordinarily in the history of saints, Francis' fame was such that in 1228, barely 2 years after his death, construction was begun on this mighty basilica, which was to honor him down the centuries. Thanks to donation. Francis' first successor as head of his order, Brother Elia, conceived the lower church as a crypt, a place for meditation and silent prayer. Decoration of the basilica was begun in 1236. Italy's greatest artists honored the saint with their works, and in the most beautiful church of the 13th century, they achieved the heights of creative genius in all the Italian Middle Ages with this amazing complex of frescoes. In the bays of the vaults, a great painter, probably of the Siena school, certainly influenced by the innovative spirit of Giotto. Known as the Maestro delle Vele, vele are the bays between the ribs of the vault, he reveals an extraordinary genius for illustrating and glorifying the mind of the saint. 5 portraits of saints are attributed to Simone Martini, among them the portraits of St. Francis and St. Clare. From the right-hand transept, we descend to the chapter house, where relics of the saint are kept. He was a very eloquent, youthful man, ever with an air of kindness, and never showing meanness of spirit or arrogance. And because he was very humble, and acted with meekness towards all men, he wisely suited his behaviour to the manner of each, even more saintly among saints, and a sinner among sinners. From the cloister of Sixtus IV, we mount the steps to the transept of the upper basilica. Light filters through kaleidoscopic stained windows, the work of Italian, French and German artists. Our historians have also detected influences from the English and Flemish schools. In 1285, Giotto was summoned from Florence to decorate the basilica. As Dante Alighieri rightly predicted, this 25-year-old pupil of Cimabue was destined to overshadow the fame of his master.